Let's be honest, most people don't forget who they are because of weakness. They forget because the world keeps convincing them to become something smaller, something safer, something that doesn't disturb anyone. You weren't born that way. You were born with fire in your soul and a sense of knowing deep inside that you were meant for something greater. But over time, the noise of judgment, comparison, and rejection starts to drown out that voice. One day you look in the mirror, and instead of seeing a queen, you see someone trying too hard to be enough. That's where it begins, the quiet loss of identity. You start chasing validation from people who never had the power to define you in the first place. You mold yourself into roles, expectations, and labels that were never yours to wear. You trade your crown for approval, and when you do that long enough, you forget it ever existed. But here's the truth, that crown never disappeared. You just stopped noticing its weight. You stopped recognizing the quiet authority that was always in you. You started believing that value is something you earn through perfection, when in reality, value is something you inherit through awareness. A queen doesn't become royal. When others call her one, she becomes royal. When she remembers she already was. See, most people think confidence is about achievement. It's not. Real confidence comes from identity, from knowing who you are even when no one claps. Because when you know yourself, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop lowering your standards just to belong. You stop begging people to treat you like someone important. You become important in your own eyes first, and that changes everything. You can't carry yourself like royalty if you're constantly seeking permission to exist. The moment you start acting like you belong, not arrogantly, but with quiet certainty, the world starts responding differently. Energy recognizes energy. When you walk with self-respect, opportunities, relationships, and even respect begin to align with that vibration. People sense when you've remembered your crown because your energy stops pleading and starts commanding. But let me tell you something vital. Remembering who you are doesn't mean rejecting humility. It means understanding that humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself truthfully. You don't need to be loud about your worth. You just need to be clear about it. A queen doesn't need to convince anyone that she's royal. Her silence, her poise, her decisiveness, they all speak for her. You see, remembering who you are is not a one-time realization. It's a daily discipline. Every morning you either remind yourself of your worth or you let the world make you forget it. Every time you compromise your values to be accepted, you loosen your crown just a little. And every time you choose integrity, self-respect, and alignment, you fix it back where it belongs. The question isn't whether you were born a queen, the question is whether you've been acting like one. And if you haven't, that's okay, because the beauty of royalty is that it doesn't expire. No matter how long you've forgotten, the crown is still yours to reclaim. So tonight, before you sleep, I want you to ask yourself one thing. What would change in my life if I started acting like I already wear the crown I've been searching for? Because the truth is simple, you don't become a queen when the world sees it. You become one the moment you decide to see it in yourself. One of the greatest tragedies I see, especially among powerful women, is how often they apologize for their strength. They say sorry for having standards, for being direct, for taking up space. They dim their light to make others feel comfortable. They soften their tone when they should be standing tall. And they do it not because they lack confidence, but because somewhere along the line, they were taught that being strong makes them unlikable. That confidence is arrogance. That assertiveness is aggression, but that's the biggest lie society ever sold to women. Power doesn't make you arrogant, insecurity does. Arrogance is loud because it's built on fear. True power, real confidence, is quiet. It doesn't seek validation, it doesn't compete, and it doesn't explain itself. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you stop performing for acceptance. You stop apologizing for existing at your full height. You see, when you shrink yourself to fit into someone else's comfort zone, you don't make peace, you create imbalance. Every time you suppress your voice to avoid judgment, you teach the world how to treat you. And here's the truth. the world will only ever respect the version of you that you choose to present. If you keep presenting yourself as small, they'll never see your power, but the moment you decide to stop apologizing, something profound happens, the energy shifts. People may resist at first, they might call you too much or too confident. That's fine, let them, because too much is exactly what people say when they can't control someone who finally knows her worth. You have to understand that power isn't about dominance, it's about alignment. It's the moment when your words, your actions, and your energy move in the same direction, when you no longer act from fear but from clarity. That's what makes a queen powerful, not her title, not her wealth, but her presence. A woman in her power changes the atmosphere without even raising her voice. And here's the paradox: the more authentic you become, the fewer people will approve of you at first. That's because authenticity disrupts comfort. You become a mirror that reflects others' insecurities back at them. But the irony is, the same people who criticize you for your confidence will eventually admire you for it, because deep down, they wish they had that courage too. Stop apologizing for dreaming bigger than others expect you to. Stop explaining your ambition, your boundaries, your decisions. You are not required to justify your fire to people who are comfortable living in the dark. Every time you stand in your truth, you give silent permission for others to do the same. You become a living reminder of what's possible when fear stops leading your life. Think about it, a queen doesn't apologize for her throne. She doesn't explain why she sits where she does. She understands that her position was earned through discipline, sacrifice, and vision. And when she speaks, she doesn't shout. She speaks with clarity, with certainty, and with purpose, because she knows her words carry weight. That's how power should feel, not loud, not defensive, but grounded. The truth is, the world doesn't need more women who shrink themselves to be accepted. It needs women who are unapologetic about their purpose, their strength, and their presence. Because every time a woman chooses confidence over compliance, she raises the standard for what's possible. So stop saying sorry for being powerful. Stop apologizing for shining too brightly in spaces that were never meant to contain you. You are not born to blend in, you were born to stand out. And remember this, when you stop apologizing for your power, you stop asking for permission to be yourself. And that's the moment you finally start ruling your own life. You cannot rule your life with an injured heart. You cannot build a kingdom while your soul is still bleeding. Most people try to move forward without healing, thinking time alone will fix the pain. But time doesn't heal, awareness does. Time only passes. It's what you do with that time that matters. A queen cannot lead with confidence if she's still chained to her past. Healing isn't a weakness, it's preparation. It's what separates those who crumble under pain from those who rise above it with wisdom. We live in a world that teaches us to escape pain instead of understanding it, to distract ourselves rather than face ourselves. But pain is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Every wound carries a message about what you've ignored, what you've tolerated, or what you've lost touch with inside yourself. When you suppress it, you silence your own growth. Healing begins the moment you stop running and decide to listen. Because what you refuse to feel will eventually control you quietly, consistently, and completely. There's a kind of strength that comes only from brokenness. When you've been hurt deeply and still choose to love, still choose to rise, still choose to believe, that's power. Not the surface-level strength of pretending everything is fine, but the deeper kind that says, I've been through fire, and I came out refined, not burned. A queen doesn't hide her scars. She uses them as symbols of survival. She knows her pain didn't make her less, it made her more. But healing requires courage. It asks you to face parts of yourself you'd rather ignore: the disappointment, the betrayal, the mistakes. It's not glamorous work. It's quiet, lonely, and often misunderstood. But it's also liberating, because when you finally sit with your pain long enough, you begin to understand its purpose. You realize that everything that broke you was simply breaking away what no longer belonged. The version of you that emerged is wiser, more grounded, and infinitely more aware. Forgiveness plays a big role in that process, not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself for staying too long, for trusting too much, for not knowing better. You see, forgiveness isn't saying what happened was okay, it's saying it no longer controls you. When you let go of resentment, you make space for power. A queen can't rule from bitterness, she rules from clarity. And clarity only comes when your heart is light enough to see truth without distortion. Healing also means learning to stop identifying with your pain. You are not what happened to you. You are what you chose to become because of it. Pain is a chapter, not the title of your story. And if you keep rereading the same hurt, you'll never move to the next page. So, heal not just to feel better, heal to see better, to choose better, to be better. Because your future deserves a version of you that isn't anchored in the past. And understand this: when you heal, you become dangerous in the best way, because nothing and no one can manipulate a woman who has faced her own darkness and come out whole. You become grounded, calm, and unshakable. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop chasing love and start attracting respect. You stop surviving and start living, so don't rush your healing. Honor it, let it teach you, let it reshape you, because once you've healed, your energy changes, and when your energy changes, your entire life begins to follow. Remember this: a wounded heart seeks rescue, but a healed heart builds empires. Choose to heal, because queens don't lead from pain, they lead from power. You can't rule a kingdom if you let everyone enter your castle. One of the greatest lessons in becoming the woman you are meant to be, the queen of your own life, is learning to protect your energy. Your energy is your life force, your creative power, your emotional currency. It's what fuels your decisions, your relationships, and your growth. Yet, most people give it away carelessly to conversations that drain them, to people who take without giving, to worries that never end. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival, it's strategy, it's wisdom. Think about it. You wouldn't leave the doors of your house wide open for anyone to walk through, would you? But emotionally, many people do exactly that every day. They let anyone's opinion, mood, or negativity step right in and rearrange their peace. You must understand your inner world is your true kingdom, and the quality of your life is determined by how well you guard it. We live in an age of noise. Everyone wants access to your attention, your empathy, your time. But queens understand that access is a privilege, not a right. You decide who enters your energy field, and you decide when to close the gates. Because not everyone deserves your presence. Not everyone is meant to sit at your table, and not everyone can handle your light without trying to dim it. There's a difference between kindness and availability. You can be kind without being constantly accessible. You can care without being consumed. Protecting your energy doesn't mean isolation, it means intention. It means choosing where to invest your emotions instead of scattering them everywhere. When you protect your peace, you start operating from strength, not exhaustion. You'll notice something powerful when you begin to do this. The moment you start saying no to the wrong things, the right things have space to find you. But most people are too afraid to disappoint others. So they keep saying yes, until they end up disappointing themselves. That's not grace, that's self-neglect. And a queen who neglects her own energy eventually loses her ability to lead her own life. Learn to recognize energy leaks: people who constantly need saving but never grow, situations that feel repetitive and heavy, habits that drain your spirit. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is to step back. Because when you overextend, you rob both yourself and others of growth. You stop being a source of inspiration and become a source of depletion. When you protect your energy, something remarkable happens: clarity returns. You start thinking better, feeling lighter, and acting more decisively. Your intuition sharpens, your creativity flows again. It's like cleaning a window that was fogged by everyone else's fingerprints. You see life differently, not from fatigue, but from focus. Remember, your energy introduces you before you even speak. It tells the world how you feel about yourself. When you move through life with boundaries, you radiate self-respect. You teach people how to treat you not through words, but through what you tolerate. A queen's calmness is her crown, and that calmness comes from discipline, not luck. So protect your energy fiercely. Guard it like it's gold, because it is. Stop entertaining chaos just because you're used to it. Peace is not boring, it's powerful. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. And here's the truth: when your inner world is steady, no external storm can shake you. Because a queen doesn't lose her composure when the wind blows. She adjusts her crown, stands taller, and remembers she is her own peace. Protect your energy, because without it, even the strongest crown will eventually fall. Your standards are not barriers, they're boundaries. They don't make you difficult, they define your value. Too often, people confuse having standards with being proud or unapproachable. But standards are not about superiority, they're about self-respect. They're the invisible line that separates what aligns with your worth from what diminishes it. And the moment you start lowering those lines to keep people comfortable, you start losing pieces of yourself. A queen doesn't chase acceptance, she sets standards, and the world adjusts. That's not arrogance, that's awareness. It's knowing what you bring to the table and refusing to sit at one that serves less than what you deserve. But most people struggle with this because they equate standards with loneliness. They think if they raise their expectations, no one will stay. And sometimes, that's true, but that's exactly the point. The wrong ones leave so the right ones can finally arrive. Think of standards like a filter. They don't keep love out, they keep chaos out. They don't block opportunities, they attract the right ones. When your energy, actions, and mindset are aligned with high standards, everything around you begins to rise to meet that frequency. You stop attracting people who take advantage of your kindness. You stop settling for situations that drain your potential. Because you've made it clear, not through words, but through your behavior, that mediocrity has no seat in your life. But here's something deeper to understand: standards are not just about what you demand from others, they're about what you demand from yourself. You can't expect consistency, honesty, or effort from people if you're not practicing them within your own life. A queen leads by example. Her standards start inward in how she treats herself, how she talks to herself, how she manages her time, how she reacts under pressure. That's where self-respect is built. When your inner standards rise, your outer world follows naturally. Now, raising your standards doesn't mean building walls. It means cultivating clarity. It means being selective, not guarded. It means understanding that peace is worth more than attention, and purpose is worth more than popularity. The moment you start valuing depth over distraction, you stop entertaining people and habits that don't feed your growth. That's when you start living from intention instead of insecurity. There's a kind of quiet power in someone who refuses to settle. It makes others uncomfortable, yes, but it also makes them curious. Because deep down, everyone respects someone who knows their worth. The people who truly belong in your life won't be intimidated by your standards, they'll be inspired by them. They'll rise to meet them. And you'll notice something else. Once you hold firm to your standards long enough, life begins to mirror that strength back to you. Better relationships, better opportunities, better peace of mind. That's not luck, that's alignment. You become magnetic, not because you're trying harder, but because you've stopped compromising. Most people lose their way not because they lack potential, but because they trade their standards for acceptance. They start negotiating their values for temporary comfort, but every time you do that, you tell the world, "I'll settle for less than I'm worth." And the world believes you, so the discipline to maintain your standards, even when it costs you something, is what shapes your destiny. You have to remind yourself daily that you are not difficult to please. You're just done settling for average. Your standards are your throne. They elevate you, protect you, and define the energy you allow in your life. And the truth is simple: if they can't meet your standards, they were never meant to sit beside your crown. Power isn't always loud. It doesn't need to shout to be heard or dominate to be felt. Real power moves quietly. It's steady, intentional, and deeply rooted in self-awareness. That's what grace is: strength in control, power without aggression, confidence without ego. The world often confuses gentleness with weakness, but that's because most people don't understand the discipline it takes to remain calm in chaos, to stay kind when provoked, and to hold your ground without needing to prove a point. That's the art of grace, and it's one of the purest signs of inner power. A queen doesn't waste her energy proving she's strong. She already knows she is. She doesn't shout to be heard because her presence alone carries weight. Her power lies not in reaction, but in restraint. When you've mastered your emotions, you stop being easily controlled by others. You begin to understand that silence can speak louder than words, and calmness can dismantle chaos faster than anger ever could. See, there's something deeply magnetic about a person who is calm under pressure. It's not that they don't feel emotions, they simply refuse to let those emotions run their life. They've learned that reacting impulsively only feeds the fire. Responding with grace, however, extinguishes it. That's what makes grace so powerful. It's not passive, it's strategic. It's knowing when to speak and when to walk away, when to confront and when to let silence do the talking. But grace isn't something you're born with, it's something you develop through discipline. It comes from experience, from heartbreak, from the lessons learned after losing your temper and realizing it solved nothing. Grace is forged in the moments where you could have exploded but chose composure instead. It's the maturity that comes from understanding that not every battle deserves your energy, not every insult deserves a reply, and not every challenge requires noise. Think of it like this: anyone can be strong when things are easy, but true strength is tested when your patience is pushed, when your character is questioned, when you're misunderstood, and you choose to remain steady. That's grace in motion. It's choosing dignity over drama, peace over pride, wisdom over reaction. You see, when you start operating from grace, you stop chasing control and start embodying it. You don't let people pull you into their storms, you invite them into your calm. You start realizing that the power of influence comes not from dominance, but from example. People will listen to you not because you demand respect, but because you carry yourself in a way that commands it naturally. And the most fascinating thing about grace is that it multiplies power, not reduces it. The calmer you are, the clearer you think. The clearer you think, the better you decide, and the better your decisions, the more powerful your results. Grace isn't softness, it's precision. It's the ability to move like water, flexible yet unstoppable. It flows around resistance without losing its direction. A queen who leads with grace doesn't fear losing control because she's already mastered it within herself. She knows that calmness is not the absence of emotion, it's the presence of mastery. Her silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom choosing its timing, and her kindness isn't submission, it's confidence dressed in elegance. So learn to carry your power with grace. Let your calmness speak for your strength. Let your presence do the talking when words fall short. Because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs more quiet examples of power done right. And remember this: true queens don't fight to be seen, they rise so steadily, so gracefully, that the world can't help but notice. A queen doesn't wait for miracles, she builds them. She doesn't sit around hoping life will change, she changes it, one decision at a time. Building your empire isn't about luck or privilege, it's about consistency, patience, and vision. It's about realizing that no one is coming to save you, and that's not a tragedy, it's a revelation. Because once you understand that you are responsible for your life, you take back all the power that disappointment and dependency once stole from you. People often romanticize success, but the truth is, building anything meaningful, whether it's a career, a dream, or inner peace, is unglamorous most of the time. It's long nights, unseen effort, constant learning, and silent persistence. You'll fail, you'll get tired, and there will be moments where nothing seems to work. But a queen doesn't stop because the path is hard. She keeps going because she knows her throne isn't given its asterisk earned. Asterisk, every empire, no matter how grand, began with one brick. That first small, uncertain step towards something greater. The problem is, many people never lay that brick because they're waiting for motivation, perfection, or approval. But motivation fades. Perfection is an illusion. And approval will never be enough. What matters is asterisk momentum. Asterisk one disciplined action every day. You may not see progress immediately, but small steps compound into greatness over time. Think of it this way: you can't expect to rule your world if you haven't learned to manage yourself first. Discipline is your foundation. Vision is your blueprint. And resilience is the cement that holds it all together. The moment you start treating your life like a construction project, something you're building with care and strategy, you stop being a wanderer and start becoming a creator. And here's the truth that most people avoid. Building your empire will cost you. It will cost you comfort, distraction, sometimes even relationships. Because the moment you start focusing on your purpose, not everyone will understand you. But that's okay. Growth naturally creates distance. You can't take everyone with you, and you're not supposed to. Your destiny is not a group project. It's a personal mission. As you build, you'll realize that the goal isn't just external success, it's internal strength. It's becoming the kind of woman who doesn't collapse when life gets difficult, who doesn't quit just because results take time. You become steady, strategic, and solution-oriented. You stop being reactive and start thinking like a leader, not just in business, but in your relationships, your habits, your choices. That's what building an empire truly means. Building yourself, your mindset, your habits, your values. You are the foundation. If that's weak, everything else eventually crumbles. So take the time to grow in silence, to learn, to fail, to rebuild. It's not wasted time, it's investment time. Every small act of discipline, every moment of courage, every day you choose focus over distraction, that's another brick added to your kingdom. And when you finally look back, you'll realize something profound. No one handed you your crown. You forged it through sweat, patience, and persistence. And because you built it yourself, no one can take it from you. So stop waiting for the right time. Stop doubting your ability to start small. Every great story began with someone who refused to quit when no one was watching. Your empire won't appear overnight, but if you stay consistent, one day you'll wake up and realize you've built something extraordinary, something that reflects not just your dreams, but your discipline. Remember this: a queen doesn't wait to be crowned. She builds her own throne, one brick at a time. Every queen understands one thing: she cannot build an empire alone. You can be strong, independent, and ambitious, but the truth is, no one rises in isolation. The people around you, your friends, your partners, your mentors, are the architects of your environment. They either push you toward your purpose or pull you away from it. That's why choosing your circle isn't about popularity. It's about alignment. A queen doesn't surround herself with people who flatter her. She surrounds herself with people who challenge her, who keep her accountable, who remind her of her worth when she forgets it. Most people don't realize how much their energy, mood, and decisions are influenced by the company they keep. You can't expect to live a royal life if your circle thrives on chaos. You can't grow if everyone around you is content with staying small. The truth is, energy is contagious, and so is mediocrity. That's why you must be intentional about who gets close to you, because proximity is power. Whoever you allow near you affects your thinking, your focus, your vision, and ultimately, your destiny. There's a quote that says, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." That's not just philosophy, it's psychology. Your brain subconsciously adapts to the patterns, expectations, and emotional tone of the people around you. If your circle complains, you'll start seeing life as a problem. If your circle builds, you'll start seeing possibilities. If your circle doubts, your confidence weakens. But if your circle believes deeply, relentlessly, you begin to rise with them. That's why queens are selective, not arrogant. They don't cut people off out of pride. They create distance out of protection. Because not everyone deserves access to your vision. Not everyone has the mindset to handle your growth. Some people love you as long as you stay the version they're comfortable with. The moment you start evolving, they feel threatened. And that's when you must decide, do I stay where it's familiar, or do I grow where it's necessary? Building a strong circle is about more than networking, it's about nurturing. It's about surrounding yourself with people who feed your spirit, not your ego. The ones who tell you the truth, not just what you want to hear. The ones who celebrate your wins sincerely, not silently. The ones who remind you to rest, to think bigger, to stay grounded. Because when you walk like a queen, you need a council, not an audience. An audience watches. A council contributes. And here's the thing, you also have to be the kind of person you want to attract. You can't expect loyalty, integrity, or inspiration if you don't live by those same values. The energy you bring determines the energy you receive. If you want people who uplift you, you must first learn to uplift others. If you want depth, be authentic. If you want vision, lead with it. Because strong women don't compete, they connect. They understand that success shared is success multiplied. It's not about having a big circle, it's about having the right one. Even 2 or 3 real, growth-minded people are enough to transform your journey. Protect your circle the same way you protect your peace, because they're deeply connected. The wrong circle drains your energy, the right one amplifies it. So take a moment and look around you, who in your life pushes you to level up and who keeps you stuck where you are. Who feeds your potential and who feeds your doubts. Be brave enough to make that distinction, because your circle is either your empire's foundation or its biggest crack. And never forget this, a queen's power doesn't just come from her crown, it comes from her council. Choose wisely, because the company you keep will either build your throne or burn it. There's a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that silence can be more powerful than explanation, that presence can be louder than protest, and that the most profound form of strength is quiet confidence. That's when she begins to embody the essence of a queen, not because she controls everything around her, but because she has learned to control herself. True power is not in dominance or noise, it's in grace. It's in the calm that cannot be shaken, even when the world tries to provoke her. The modern world often confuses aggression with strength and noise with influence. But if you observe real power, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that sustains, you'll see it's built on emotional control, not emotional reaction. A queen understands this difference. She knows that every time she loses control, she gives her power away. The moment she reacts out of anger, insecurity, or fear, she allows someone else to dictate her emotional state. But when she chooses silence, patience, or a measured response, she keeps her energy, and that's where real authority lies. There's a reason why ancient queens, leaders, and visionaries were known for their composure. People followed them not just because of their titles, but because of their energy. Their calm was contagious. Their presence commanded respect before they even spoke, and that's something every woman can cultivate, the kind of strength that doesn't need to be announced because it's felt. You can walk into a room and change its energy without saying a word if you've mastered yourself first. But emotional control doesn't mean suppression. It's not about pretending you don't feel anger, pain, or disappointment. It's about learning how to channel those emotions into clarity and purpose instead of chaos. Every emotion is information. Anger shows you where your boundaries have been crossed. Sadness reveals what you value. Fear exposes what you haven't yet confronted. A queen listens to these emotions, but doesn't let them drive her decisions. She uses them as data, not direction. Think about how many times impulsive words or emotional reactions have caused regret. How many times peace was lost, not because of what happened, but because of how you responded to it. Emotional maturity is understanding that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to prove your worth every time someone doubts it. You don't have to explain your boundaries to those who benefit from crossing them. When you master the art of restraint, you begin to see the world differently, less through ego, more through wisdom. And here's the deeper truth: calmness is not natural, it's cultivated. It's a daily discipline, like a muscle you build through awareness. It requires self-reflection, solitude, and the courage to pause before reacting. It means reminding yourself, not everything deserves my energy, because your peace is the foundation of your power, and when you protect it, you protect your future. When you carry yourself with grace, people notice, not because you're loud, but because you're steady. You stop chasing validation because you start radiating assurance. You stop needing to prove your value because you embody it. The world begins to treat you the way you treat yourself, and when you walk with quiet confidence, you teach people how to approach you, how to respect you, how to love you. Remember this: you don't need to fight every battle to win the war. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move. Sometimes silence dismantles what words never could. And sometimes the greatest form of revenge is simply thriving gracefully, unapologetically, without explanation. So, hold your head high, speak only when it adds value, and let your calm be your crown. Because real queens don't roar to prove they're lions, they rule because their presence alone reminds the world who they are. Every queen eventually reaches a point where she understands that her power doesn't come from her past, her titles, or even her achievements. It comes from her purpose. And living with purpose is not about chasing perfection. It's about living with direction. The greatest tragedy isn't failing, it's moving through life without knowing why you're moving at all. Too many people wake up every day simply reacting to life instead of designing it. But a queen doesn't live by reaction. She lives by intention. She knows what she stands for, what she's building, and what she's no longer willing to entertain. Purpose gives you clarity when the world gets loud. It becomes the compass that helps you decide what deserves your attention and what doesn't. When you have purpose, you stop being desperate for validation because you already know your value. You stop chasing people, positions, and things that don't align with who you are becoming. Purpose filters your distractions. It helps you say no, not because you're arrogant, but because you're focused, and that's a discipline most people never master. You see, every queen has to go through seasons of confusion before she reaches clarity. There's a phase where nothing makes sense, where you question everything, your relationships, your work, your dreams, even yourself. But that discomfort isn't chaos, it's transformation. It's life stripping away what doesn't belong so you can recognize what does. If you can stay still during that process, if you can hold faith while everything feels uncertain, you'll discover a strength you never knew existed. That's when purpose begins to whisper softly at first, then louder, until it becomes impossible to ignore. Purpose doesn't always come in grand moments. Sometimes it reveals itself in quiet ones, in the things that make you feel alive, the problems you feel called to solve, the people you're drawn to help. It's not about becoming someone else, it's about remembering who you are beneath the noise. When you align with that truth, you stop trying to fit into places that weren't built for you. You stop apologizing for your ambition, your confidence, your vision. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable because you finally realize you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to build but purpose without discipline is just potential. Every queen must learn the art of consistency, the quiet, daily commitment to growth even when no one's watching. Because real queens aren't made in the spotlight. They're built in the unseen hours through resilience, reflection, and self-belief. Purpose is not a dream, it's a direction. And that direction requires courage, the courage to walk alone for a while, the courage to let go of people who don't believe in your vision, the courage to fail publicly and still rise privately. You don't find purpose by waiting for clarity. You find it by moving by taking steps, making mistakes, and learning from them. Every experience adds a layer to your strength. Every failure sharpens your wisdom. Every challenge tests your faith. That's how purpose matures, not in ease, but in endurance. So as you move forward, ask yourself not what you want to do, but what you're called to do. What ignites your spirit? What impact do you want to leave behind? What legacy are you quietly building, even when no one notices? Because the day you answer those questions honestly, you'll stop living on autopilot and start leading your life like the queen you were born to be. And here's the truth: a queen doesn't chase her purpose. She embodies it. Every word, every choice, every step becomes a reflection of that deeper mission. So stop waiting for permission, stop doubting your power, and start walking like your crown was never in question. Because it never was. The world doesn't need more women who follow trends, it needs more queens who follow purpose. So rise, align, and lead. Not because you want to be seen, but because you were always meant to be remembered.